Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Wellness Check, a place to check your wellness, to learn tips and tricks for a sound mind, a strong heart, and a healing soul. My name is Katie Porter. I've been a therapist for over 10 years, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that's called the window of tolerance. It's actually a really simple tool to know about, and it can very much help with emotion regulation throughout the day. So if you tend to be overwhelmed or chronically stressed, or just feel like everything is irritating you, or maybe you're feeling really numb or detached or anything like that, this will help you. So I have attached a graph or an illustration that I typically use with my clients that can really help to break this down and make it easy to understand. So you'll see it below. And basically what this graph is showing us is that we have a window, and ideally we want this window to be as wide as possible. When we have a wide window of tolerance, we are calm, cool, collected, connected. We are able to tolerate and experience the day or the week and anything that life has to throw at us. We typically can feel much more grounded throughout the process as well. So things like stress, unforeseen, unpredictable things in your day, that upset you, overwhelm you, make you angry, or whatever it might be, make the window smaller and shorter. And when our window of tolerance is smaller and shorter, life tends to spill out much easier. So do our emotions. So you'll see that above the window of tolerance is something that's called hyperarousal. And basically, that's a fancy word that means above the window of tolerance. So take a look and see if any of these symptoms hit home for you. Maybe you feel anxious or keyed up, maybe irritable. You start activities, but you can't finish them. Really just kind of buzzing, racing thoughts, things like that. That might be an indication that you might be over the window of tolerance. And what we need to do then is first just recognize that it's happening and understand why it's happening. And then we need to do activities or create a mindset to bring that activity down. So when we're above, we need to do things that bring us down into the window of tolerance. Not only will this help to regulate your emotion system and your nervous system, but it'll also help to make that window wider and taller. Then if you look below the window of tolerance, there's something that's called hypoaroused or hypoarousal. And again, just a fancy way of saying underneath the window of tolerance. So take a look at the symptoms there. Maybe we're numb, detached, apathetic, we're isolating, we're pulling out of social events. Those types of symptoms, maybe even dissociative symptoms are happening. This is, again, an indication that you are out of the window of tolerance, and we need to do activities or put ourselves in a mindset that upregulate us, bring us back up into the window of tolerance. And what this will do, just like the hyperarousal coming down, if we're able to successfully do this, we're bringing ourselves back up into the window of tolerance and also widening the window again. So here are some questions to ask yourself. How do I know if I'm out of the window of tolerance? And we will know because we'll either be hyper-aroused or hypo-aroused, we'll be above or below, and we'll know what those symptoms are. And they tend to be kind of individualized. So everybody's a little bit different, and it's super important to understand what your body and what your mind and your thoughts are telling you in particular, because getting to know yourself on that way will help you know in a heartbeat if you're above or below. So understand, are you hyper? Are you hypo? What does that feel like? And begin to trace it back a little bit. What happened today or yesterday or last week? What are the stressors that could have really narrowed that window of tolerance down to now where we're just really feeling dysregulated emotionally? And once you begin to understand the origin of it, then we also have a better idea of what we can do to either be empathetic towards it or compassionate towards it, and again, begin to widen that window again. So here's an example. If someone falls out of the window of tolerance and they are way above, super anxious, racing thoughts, just fragmented memories, up in the ether, so to speak, can't really ground themselves, we know then that we need to do something that brings us down. So we need to do something that for our body and mind and nervous system are calming and grounding. So that could be something as simple as your 4x4 breathing. Inhale really slowly for the count of 4. Exhale really slowly for the count of 4. It could be the Vergence activity, which if you haven't seen that video, it's super interesting. Go watch that. This is a really good way to ground yourself, and it only takes a couple minutes. From another video, you could do really slow bilateral tapping. Again, in another video to inform you on how to do this correctly. So think about it like that. If we're way up here, we've got to come down. We've got to really pay attention to our breathing, our mindset, and what our body's doing. Now, if somebody falls out of the window of tolerance and they're really below, you know what? Those activities that I just mentioned might actually make it worse or just be unhelpful, maybe not do anything. So we know that we have to do something more excitatory to bring you back up. So maybe this is going for a walk, calling a friend, getting outside or getting a change of environment. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's a really good meal. Maybe you just need to eat or hydrate yourself. Get your body in its own intuitive rhythm again. Everybody's different. Everybody has different tools that they need to use depending on what the trigger is that got them there in the first place. So the window of tolerance is such an amazing tool to carry in your back pocket anytime you can, to use on yourself, to use with kids in your classroom or your own nieces, nephews, or even just friends or anybody else. The more people that can really understand this about themselves tend to be more regulated people. And the more regulated we are, the more in tune we are with our mind and our body and our soul. And we're able to really just take care of ourselves with a knowledge base rather than shooting in the dark, trying to figure out what's wrong and what do I do with this? How do I take care of myself? Window of tolerance is everything. And chances are throughout a day, if not multiple times a week, we fall out of window of tolerance. So I'm going to give you guys a homework assignment, and it is to just read over this chart for window of tolerance and begin to dip into your own body. See how your body is communicating with you, how your mind and how your thoughts are communicating with you. Number 1, be aware that you're out of the window of tolerance when it happens. Number 2, trace it back to the origin or the trigger so that you can understand how you got there. And more importantly, what to do with it. So once you understand those first 2 steps, then it's really game on about, do we need to upregulate? Do we need to downregulate? And what are the tools that are important and purposeful to you that can really help you get there? I hope that this helps. Just a quick, simple tool, yet so important and often overlooked. Thank you for checking in with your wellness. And I hope you have a great afternoon.